All right, guys, we're back. Today we got this TRX here. We are going to be unlocking the PCM, doing a quick little drive, make sure everything runs great. And we are unlocking the PCM, tuning it, and just making sure overall that, it's got that Reid Performance kind of value to it. If you've never seen what a TRX looks like stock, if you're a short guy, like for example, this is eye level for me. I get in, I'm standing literally at the truck. Can't see no blower. If you're a short guy, I'm telling you, you're not going to be able to see it. You got to come over to the side just to get a peek at the blower. So you have this big factory intake. This part kind of works as like a silencer type deal, and it's a functional hood scoop. So there's the ram air, connects right here, and then it literally comes in through the silencer where the filter is, down, and then to the supercharger. So if you have a TRX, it's kind of more tailored to you. If you watch the channel, this is just kind of more ASMR, maybe. I don't know. What I do like about the TRX is the T-Rex logo. And if you look, it's a raptor, because us Mopar guys, we don't like those Ford guys, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to get started. Here is your PCM. Now, as always, I always recommend removing the battery. It takes an extra 30 seconds. So what's unique about the TRX is it has this like strut base here, and this one is missing a tab, or it doesn't look like it's connected all the way. So the bolts are, it's kind of like the other trucks here. And then you have two right here. Sometimes it's easier to take the bolts out first and then disconnect the electrical connectors, just because it gives you more room to wiggle those connectors in and out. If you have like the regular Rams, they're like on the passenger side, kind of tucked over here, but we have the supercharger coolant here, so it's relocated over to the other side. And here's what the engine bay looks like. It's kind of messy. But usually when you get an aftermarket intake on the TRXs, it'll come this way, and this is where the new filter housing will sit. So without any ado, let's get to it, man. Let's do it. Let's get her done. Okay, so we're set up at the top of the motor looking down, so positive. Here's the negative terminal right here. So we're going to disconnect just to be safe. 10 millimeter as always. And just tuck it off to the side. I usually just like to tuck it into a spot where it's not going to touch the battery. And on this one, I'm going to take the bolts out of the PCM first. So the only thing to pay attention to is this side here has a ground attached to it. So make sure you don't lose that, or you don't forget to plug that in. And these are 8 millimeters, so let me grab that. So here's that ground wire, so make sure don't lose that, and also don't let it touch the battery. And then once you have these 3 screws removed, you can move the PCM around as needed, but the harness is pretty tight, so I want to make sure that you just pull the locking tab. It wiggles right off. I'll show you. All right, every once in a while, especially with removing PCMs, you get something like this, where you have the locking tab up all the way, but the actual locking mechanism is still in place. So how it works is you have these two color, let's see if I can get it. So see the green one there, and then the other side is usually blue. So when you push down on these locking tabs, that pushes the lock forward, and then it engages on the grooves here on the PCM, the little knobs. So sometimes on cars that are older or that are dirtier, you pull that tab up all the way and it's still locked into place. So I'm going to show you a little secret that I use to get these connectors off without damaging them. And honestly, this method will probably save you a lot of time. And then once you get it down, it's pretty easy. So what you do is you pop this clip here, and this takes the top hat off, but doesn't affect the actual connector. And then what it does is it removes the red lever, has little grooves that lock into the locking mechanism tabs that are here. So when you take this out of the equation, you can put a slim flathead screwdriver in here and you push the connectors back towards the back of it. You push a little on this side, lid on this side, lid on this side, lid on this side, and eventually you'll have them pushed far enough back to where you can remove the connector. And then once you do that, later in the video, I'll show you how to basically, like, quote unquote resync the connector so that it locks correctly. So let me show you how that's done. Okay, so I have my flathead here. I'm gonna pop this little tab and just push in. And you can actually hold it into place. Come on. And then you can gently pull this out. So there's the locking tabs I was talking about on the lever. Okay, so now I take this, move this out of the way, and I'm going to gently press in here. You can see the green mechanism. You want to push up here, not down here, because if you push down here, you'll hit those locking knobs on the connector. And you want to hold the PCM in place so you can get some force on it. And you just push and wiggle. I usually like to grab the top of the connector like this. And you just push and wiggle. You can see how the connector is moving back on its own as you push up on those tabs. And then you can see the dirt line. Once you have good enough space off the dirt line, you can just literally just wiggle this off. Because one thing you don't want to do is force it. So I like to just put a little pressure on each side. And then you can just wiggle it off. And there you go. There's the PCM out. So let me show you how to basically resync that connector. So I usually like to wait until I'm done. So let me get this PCM unlocked. We'll get it all set up and then I'll show you guys how to fix that. There you go. Never seen what the inside of PCM looks like. This is what it looks like. So let's get it all hooked up and unlocked. All right. Alright, so got it all hooked up. We're about halfway done unlocking it. So the process is you got to get it unlocked, and then you have to do a separate process, which is to pull the stock tune off of it. So we'll pull the stock tune once it's done unlocking. We'll play with our tune, flash in the tune, we seal it all up. We'll put it back in there. I'll show you that trick that I mentioned, and then we'll take it for a test drive. All right, flashing in our custom 91 tune for this TRX. So once everything is through, put it back in and we'll move on. And one thing you got to make sure you do after opening these PCMs up is you got to make sure you take off the old silicone or RTV or the sealant, whatever they use. So I always make sure I take a knife and I make sure that I basically slice off the old material as much as I can, and then I use some more RTV silicone to seal it back up. That way, so the PCM itself is weatherproof. Now that it's all sealed up, I just got to close the locking tabs and we'll put it back in the truck. Okay, so we're back on the truck. Let me get this screwed down and then I'll show you how to take care of that locking tab. All right, so now that we've got it bolted down, you want to take your connector, leave the hat off, or actually you can, it's easier to snap it back into place. Doesn't matter if it's off or not. And then you're gonna connect it. And it looks like we got it locked into place, but just in case you didn't, you want to pop this hat off, rearrange the tabs, and then clamp it down again. And if it doesn't move, then it's on all the way. So I'm pretty sure it's on all the way, but I'm gonna do it anyways, just to check. So pop it off, release the tab, work it back on there, and then give it a snug. See how it's not moving? So my connector's in place all the way. So take it out again, close it, lock it, and you're secured. And don't forget to reconnect your battery terminal and tighten it down. And then the next thing you need to do after you get the PCM installed is you need to hook up any kind of code reader that you have. Anytime we unlock a PCM, it sets these 8 codes, plus there's one extra there for something else, but you usually get about 8 codes from unlocking your PCM because it's powered outside of the vehicle, so it trips a lot of codes. So just clear those codes before you start it up, and then you're good to go. Alright, so we're taking it on a little test drive. As always, we got HP tuners logged in, scanning. So I'm basically just gonna drive it down this hill I got over here. Test the responsiveness, all that good stuff. So and in case you've never driven a TRX, the all-wheel drive is pretty cool, and the brakes are super responsive for how heavy this truck actually is. So I'll roll up the window, see if you guys can hear the blower sounds. Here we go. I'm lined up at this hill. Pretty sure we'll get some good whining. Oh yeah, I love that Hellcat whine, man. It's honestly, the Hellcat whine is honestly the best, so. And it handles the steep hill like a champ. Hell yeah. Alright, you guys, so that's pretty much it. If you made it this far, I appreciate you watching the channel. Quick little how-to for your Ram, TRX. A lot of the info applies to, you know, all the other models for removing your PCM and tuning. So thank you guys for watching. On the next video.